Hey guys, welcome back. We are doing a little car chronicles today, just because I had to tell you what has been going on with my crazy school transition drop-offs for my kids. So I want to share this with you because in the next coming weeks, I am doing a podcast coming out next week actually called Lessons from My Daughter. So next week, make sure you tune in because I'm sharing a really big lesson I learned from my daughter as she just started preschool, transitioned to full day at preschool, which is a big deal for her. And let me tell you, I have a lot of lessons I have been learning from my son. And that is going to be its own podcast episode at some point because I have learned many lessons from him. But I want to tell you one thing that came up for him, which kind of threw me a little bit, and I want to share it with all of you. So he is 7, and I've shared on here before, new school, new kids, new the whole thing. And it has been quite a transition for him, especially more so than my daughter. And one of the biggest things for him was getting on a school bus. So in our old town, there was no school bus. We would just physically drop the kids off, either walk to school or drive to school. And a big thing here has been the school bus. So it took him probably a week or 2 weeks where he would was willing to actually get on the school bus. He would get on, sometimes he would run off and I'd have to go drive him. But he finally started to get on the school bus. He loved coming home on the school bus. That was never the problem. It was more getting on the school bus in the morning. And I know part of it was just his transition. He felt some separation anxiety, leaving us. So let me tell you what happened last week. Last week we had a bus that came, and he's very details focused, and he has some rigid tendencies. And so, we've really been just understanding it better and understanding him better and really just trying to listen to what his needs are. But he got very used to a specific bus. It has a bus number. So he's very used to a specific bus number. He got to know the bus. The bus driver, by the way, has been so lovely with him. She saves him this very front seat because she knows that he wants to not come in and look for a seat because he gets anxious about that. She's so lovely. Anyways, last week, the bus number changed. The bus number changed. Guys, you better believe he did not get on the bus. It threw him for a loop. Big twisty turn for our morning. He saw the bus and he was like, that's not my bus. Now, the bus driver was the same. The kids were all the same. The bus stop was the same. Everything else was the same, but the number on the bus was different. And he really fixated on that number. And he was like, nope, that's a nope. I'm not getting on that bus. And you better believe, since that time, he, every morning I can see this little internal struggle for him where he wants to get on the bus, but he's also I'm not getting on a bus that doesn't have my bus number on it. So I wanted to share that on here because I found myself initially, and I'm wondering whether you all do this. I'm sure we all do this. I was trying to speak to his logical brain, the logical part of him that was listen, I know the number on the bus isn't the same, but the bus driver's the same, the kids are the same, I was trying to speak to his logical self. And what I found myself doing was I wasn't really paying attention to his worry. So he had a worry that the bus number's not the same. What if it's the wrong bus? I wasn't focusing on that. I was focusing on trying to convince him to see the logic of what, I was trying to prove to him his logic is not making sense because look, everything else is the same. Rather than the more important work, which is what I'm doing now, and I want to share this with all of you, the more important work of actually showing him, showing myself, and then letting our relationship patiently make space for the fact that his worry makes perfect sense. I think that we do this a lot, and this is actually, I'm speaking to this a little bit even in next week's episode around the lessons I've learned from my daughter. But really, really making my kids' worry make sense really helped. It's almost he didn't have to defend it anymore. I'm of course you didn't see the number on the bus, and I understand that threw you for a turn. And I understand, it makes a lot of sense that that's concerning. And I think that what we do, especially because we have our adult brains, and I do this all the time, which is why I share my journey in real time as I'm doing this, we think that our kids, because they are so smart, they are so brilliant in so many ways, they are so intuitive, we forget that they still have their childlike brain, that they have these little parts of them that we sometimes try to logic out of, prove to them, listen, this doesn't make sense. And I think sometimes when we do that, we inadvertently make parts of them wrong, rather than, I think what's probably more valuable and important, to make those parts of them right, normalize and validate that, of course, okay, the bus number didn't make sense, and now what do we want to do with that? Now, there's no right way, okay? What I'm going to share, what I did, is not the right way. It's just my way, and we're experimenting with it, and we're playing with it, and there is no right way. I want to share this because I think that sometimes we get what's the right strategy? Because I know I do this. What's the most perfect strategy? There's no most perfect right strategy, but I want to share what I did. So when I realized that I was trying to convince him, I could tell because I could feel it in my body. I was getting a little irritable, a little snippy, come on, we just did all this work to get you on the bus, and now you're running off the bus. Now I have to drop you off at school. I was getting a little impatient. That was my signal. My signal was I felt a little annoyed, impatient, a little snippy, a little come on now, haven't you figured this out yet? Look at all the other kids. Other kids are just rolling onto the bus, a little bit of that. And here's the thing, I didn't make myself wrong for it. I just caught it. I just noticed, okay, this is just a signal for me to know that I'm trying to rush myself and him out of a very specific experience that we are having together. So that's the very first thing. I noticed it. The second thing that I think was really important was for me to pause and actually rewind what I did with him. I was trying to convince him, right? The bus driver, the kids, the bus stop is all the same. So I had to kind of go back and be listen, I know I've been telling you that all these things are the same, but I want to just say that I recognize what you mean. I understand how you feel. I had to really pause and do that step because I think we take for granted our kids really knowing that we are hearing them. And I am so guilty of this, which is why I'm sharing this in real time. I'm so guilty of not pausing on this step. They know, they get it. They don't always get it. It's okay for us to will just pause and really be listen, I know I was saying this thing. I want you to know, I'm sorry if it felt like I was rushing you. I will apologize to my 7-year-old. I'm sorry if it felt like I was rushing you, but I want you to know I totally hear you. Tell me everything. Tell me all of the things that you're thinking about this bus number. Tell me all about this bus number. Why is this bus number such a big deal? Let me tell you, he had some really powerful arguments for why the bus number was a big deal. And I only would have really uncovered this, and I shared this kind of even in next week's episode with my daughter. I only would have really uncovered this by doing this step, by being listen, sorry I was rushing you. Tell me everything about this number business. And with no agenda. Okay, so my agenda here is not to rush him to an answer or to tell him to quickly solve the problem. That's not my intention. My intention is purely to connect with him and understand. This is the work. I'm making myself pause my problem solving. Because my tendency as a mom excuse me, my tendency as a mom is to problem solve. How many of you guys do this? We problem solve. Instead, to really slow myself down, to be we're not problem solving, I'm just here to understand and connect. And I think that what started to naturally happen is as he was telling me out loud his problem, he started saying oh, it's because of this, and then I'm thinking about this, and what if this? As he started sharing with me out loud, he was hearing himself. Instead of it just staying in his brain, his theories, he started to hear himself out loud, and he started to, for himself, a little problem solve for himself. He was well, actually, I know I'm thinking this, but like maybe this and maybe that. We started to have a dialogue and a conversation rather than just like me shutting it down and me problem solving for him, which is what I have had a tendency of doing. I think so many of us do this. Instead of me problem solving for him, I just in conversation and connecting kind of let him problem solve a little bit for himself. And what I just want to share is that we haven't resolved this. He's still not getting on the bus, but he's starting to look for ways to get on the bus. So he noticed yesterday, he's like, oh, I saw that the bus driver has 2 bus numbers. She has my old bus number and this new bus number. I think that maybe this bus is also used for the middle school. Like maybe that's why there's more than one bus number. Like he's just coming up with these theories on his own, and he feels it so much more in his body rather than me trying to shove it down his throat. He feels it so much more, and it's so much more believable to him. And I guess I just wanted to come on here and share this story in real time because it is requiring me to practice being patient. I am very traditionally an impatient person. I want quick results. I think all of us do. A lot of us do. Maybe not all of us. A lot of us do. And the lessons I'm learning from him truly have to do with patience and letting him go at his own pace without me convincing and shoving and dragging him along, like really just pausing and letting it go at his pace. And at the same time teaching him that like he is safe to explore his way while also knowing that there are specific boundaries. I think that that'll be probably for a different chit chat that we do together, but I want to share this in real time because it's quite a lesson. I think that we are like learning lessons from our kids all the time. We think we need to teach them. I think really more importantly, they are seriously just getting to teach us. I hope you guys like this one. I'll be back later. Bye.